All right. Well, here is video two. You watched the first video, which gave you an idea of the beginning part of the compensation plan, starting with direct through to senior, then executive. And now we're going to get into the leadership bonus area, which is where the majority of the income of this plan can be generated. Now, in the first video, we read this quote. I'm going to read it again because I think this statement is so clear as to what Nikken and the business opportunity is all about. Through its generous compensation plan, Nikken offers different ways to earn. Your success and the income you earn from your Nikken business are determined by the number of customers you have, the amount that each customer purchases, and your effectiveness in building a sales organization that includes other distributors who help you expand your customer base, and they build their own sales organizations. The path to financial wellness. Now, success with Nikken takes dedication, but the criteria for moving up in the organization are straightforward. The levels you attain in Nikken are based on your personal point volume, your personal group point volume, and the success of the distributors in your downline organization. Now, your personal point volume and personal group point volume are measured in A, Nikken points. A is used to calculate the qualifications in the Nikken compensation plan, and that's what creates the rank. So you do so many points to reach a rank, as is you saw in the definition for each, and we'll cover that again from silver on up. Additionally, each point has a corresponding commission volume. Now, the basis upon which commissions are paid. So in the back office, again, you print out your price sheets and you'll have the point volume column, you'll have the CV commission volume column, you'll have the retail column volume. So you can see the difference. As we have talked about, the point volume is for rank, the CV or commission volume is for your income. And that's where you want to focus your attention is on the income. Independent Nikken distributors shall be paid in their home country currency, calculated at the current volume month's exchange rate according to onada.com on the last business day of the month. For a definition of personal point volume, personal group point volume, and the other terms used in this section, see the Nikken policies and procedures definition of terms at the end of this document. And that was included in the first document, not this document. You can also find these in the policies and procedures document in your back office. Okay. Now, let's look at the leadership bonus part of the plan, starting from silver and progressing up to royal diamond. The limitless realm of leadership bonus. Now, when you attain the rank of a silver distributor, you jump into this exciting new area of potential income. In this and other higher ranks, you can qualify to earn the highly rewarding leadership bonus. And I want to emphasize qualify to earn these leadership bonuses. The bonus is based on the productivity of the silvers and above below you in your organization. And as I've said, and as you're learning, your income is based on what other people do. Now, as distributors in your personal group rise in rank to silver and beyond, they take their own personal groups with them. And they receive personal group point volume credit for their efforts. And that's where we have this idea of the breakaway. So they actually break away from your personal group. They have now their own personal group, but you maintain an organizational volume and reward, which is the leadership bonuses. Now, the bonus equals 6% of the personal group CV down through as many as 6 levels of qualified silver and above distributors up through to the top position of royal diamond. Now, as a note here, and not in writing, the understanding that the qualifications for each rank of the qualification for silver is 1,500 points. The qualification for gold is 1,500 points. The qualification for platinum is 1,000 points, diamond 1,000 points, and royal diamond 1,000 points. Those points and the associated CV connected with them is the important aspect of your residual income. Now, we'll draw this out. You'll see what this means as we move forward, but I want you to keep in mind of the value of building an organization and a structure below you. Okay, let's talk about silver. As mentioned in the previous video, whenever I was recruiting a new distributor in my organization, the first target to reach, aside from what their goal was, if let's say their goal was to make 5 or 10,000, the first target to reach was to reach the level of silver, then from silver to gold, gold to platinum, platinum to diamond, diamond to royal diamond. That was always the sequence. That's the plan that's given by Nikken. So that's the sequence that we're going to follow here. So, and if you go back to the earlier part, in order to, get to senior, you had to be a direct. In order to get to executive, you had to be a direct, then a senior, then be exec. Even if it went in one foul swoop, you went to executive, in theory, you still went through direct and senior to get to that executive level. And then the rest follows suit. So in order to get silver, you have to at least get to executive and then build the volume requirements that are necessary to get to silver. And in this case, it's achieve 100 ppv and 6,000 personal group point volume. And we referenced in a previous video the how to go silver, and as an example, and that's only one example. There's a gazillion different ways that this can be done. And in your reviewing and study of this information, you should draw out as many different examples of going silver as you possibly can so that you understand the concept of what you're trying to accomplish. You're going to build silver with a team. You're going to build silver with other people. You're going to build silver with a combination of activities such as retail, wholesale, and building other distributors. Now, in the qualification, and this is a sticky point for a lot of people, and we'll deal with this, achieve an organizational point volume of at least 1,000 outside the primary leg. Well, what's the primary leg? Well, by definition, if you saw in the previous video, the primary leg is the leg with the most volume. So if you looked at 6,000, the way I played this game, it was really simple. I said, okay, I got, 3 legs I want to try and develop here. So the first leg, my main leg, the one with the most volume, and then the next one was the outside that main leg, which would be the secondary leg. So I got 1, I got 2, that's the first, the primary, the secondary. Now I have a third area where I'm required to create volume. And in this case, it's 500 of the minimum OPV requirement being met outside legs, the primary and secondary legs. So I just went 1, 2, 3, primary, secondary, tertiary. So 1, 2, 3, that's what I want to sponsor. Now, number 3 or number 2 could be your personal volume, could be retail sales. So again, the main leg is you're building an organization, and that creates the most volume. Then what's the next most volume in your structure? Is it personal volume? Is it another distributor? What is it? That becomes a secondary. And then outside of those two, there is a third requirement, and that's the 500 points in this example of going silver. So again, look at the video. You will see an example of that, and then get a piece of paper and then draw that out until you're comfortable understanding your primary leg, your secondary leg, and outside primary and secondary. So it's first, second, and third. And again, most of the qualifications of the third, either a third leg, a fourth leg, a fifth leg, a combination of the fourth, fifth, or sixth, and whatever it is, that's what you do, practice it. But here's the nice thing. You don't have to worry about doing that. Nikken automatically covers that in the back office. So when you get to this area of silver and breaking an organization, having silvers, golds, platinums underneath you, it's automatically calculated and very easy to follow. In the meantime, you want to understand it so that when somebody else is reading this compensation plan, you can explain it. All right, let's move on. So the monthly qualifications after you've reached the level of silver are 100 ppv, personal volume, and maintain a personal group volume of 1,500. Now, your personal group are combined a couple things. They're the people you newly recruit as distributors, or they could be wholesale buyers, and we learned what a wholesale buyer. It's basically a disguised customer who wants the best price, and they become a distributor to get the best price. And I found that that was a great way to go sometimes because one of the key factors of building this business is maintaining your PGPV requirement. And I've seen this happen many times. A person gets to silver, he has a really strong leg, they get to silver, move on to gold. But the person up above, the main distributor, doesn't maintain his PGPV and doesn't qualify to get paid on those leaders below him. And this is a critical point. And you'll see this when we draw this out and we give an example of how this works. Now, the benefits of silver are this. 20% retail profit on customer sales. We know that. 20% personal CV rebate on those sales or anything that you purchase, and up to 20% personal group CV override. Now, again, the 20% is based on your qualification as silver versus those in your organization. So obviously, if you had a direct distributor, you're going to make the full 20%. If you had a senior, you're going to make 15% override. If the person is an executive, you're going to make 10% because they're making 10. It's always the difference. So again, get a piece of paper, put you down as a silver, and then put all the different ranks, executive, senior, direct, and then put volume, and then calculate what the rate of pay is. It's really quite simple. And this actually goes back to where I learned this was when my early days in Nikken, when I had the position in the office, I was taking all the calls. And I was asking questions it's one of those things. If you're not familiar, have no experience with it, it's kind of hard to get, but it's really quite simple once you understand how it works. Okay. Now, 6% leadership bonus on personal group CV down through 2 levels of qualified silver or above distributors. So all leaders, silvers, golds, platinums, diamonds, and royal diamonds, are leaders per the definition of leadership bonus. So if you're a silver and you happen to have a gold underneath you, the gold refers to their rank, but that's still a leader in your business. So if they're frontline to you, whatever they do to qualify for their position, you get the CV percentage 6% on that volume. And if they have a front line underneath them, which would be your second level, okay, then you're going to earn 6% on whatever the second level people do. Now, again, one of the areas that is very important when you're building silver, you want to be looking forward to in looking forward at gold, platinum, diamond, royal diamond. So it's kind of like work it backwards to where you are so you see the sequence. So silver is 6,000 points. The next jump up from silver is gold. Gold is 15,000 points. So you have to look at, well, how is 15,000 points going to be produced? Is it going to be produced with 1, 2, 3, 4? Who's involved here? This is part of the planning and the strategy and the reason why you want to draw it out. So in going back to your admin scale, in your admin scale and in your program, you target out where you're going for. So the first area that you would target out would be to go silver. Once you go silver, then your next target is to go gold. But you want to understand what gold looks like before you get there, because part of building silver is to identify who is going to help you get to gold. So let's say, and we looked at these examples, you're going to see it again today, but in the example of Howard, when I sponsored Howard, his first key guy that came in was John. And once John came in and identified himself as wanting to participate, he was frontline to Howard. So, but what I recognized that he was going to go silver more so than what Howard understood because he hadn't done this before. It was brand new to him. So my view of the organization, the structure, the business, how it worked, saw that Howard's going silver. Now John is going to be following him. So we want John to help Howard go silver, but at the same time, we're looking at what John's going to do to go silver underneath him because that's going to help Howard go gold. So the strategy of doing this is simply when you're building to go to silver, you're thinking about the requirements of going to gold so that when you get to silver, you're going to be number one, paid as gold. I mean, when you get to gold, you're going to be paid as it because you have the structure there, and the structure for silver is to be paid on two generations of silver below you. So if I, again, in the way I built my business with the first guy, George got Jay, Jay got Al got Moshe, Moshe got his front line, I forget his name now, but his front line. And so we created four silvers in a row based on building underneath the bottom. And that was teamwork. And at that time, the volume required was much different than it is today, but it's the concept that's important to understand was it was creating the team that generated the volume to allow four of us to reach, or five of us actually, to reach the silver level. And that was accomplished in the second month. So I took that idea, and when Howard came along, I gave him that idea and I said, this is how we're going to do it. And so together, he and I got together. We planned his silver run, what it took to get to silver, what he needed to do. So it was mapped out. He knew exactly what had to be done. His job was to sponsor as many people as possible. And then from there, we were looking for who wanted to play and participate. And again, in this particular case, the first guy that came on was John. And once John, raised his hand, said, I want to play, then we had somebody to build. And then underneath John came Rusty. And Rusty was a travel agent, liked to make money, was, an entrepreneurial character. And she knew people all over the place. So she created a list and we started to contact that list. And the first man that came along was Ron in Hawaii that really wanted to play. So we went down to him and he got this right away. And he started to build like crazy and sponsored a number of people. And that's where the volume came that lit up Rusty, lit up John Hopley, and lit up Howard to create that silver. So three of them went silver that in that or four of them. So Ron went silver, Rusty went silver, John went silver, and Howard went silver because of that in the next month, or the three went in the next month, Howard went in that month. But there was the team. So by the time Howard got to gold, he had distributors even below the third level. So he was getting paid. And the same thing, when I got to gold in my fourth month of doing this business, I had two levels that were down 5 or 6 levels in silvers. And one level, the third level, did the same, went down to 3 levels. So I was being paid as the rank. And the reason why I'm saying this is so valuable, I've seen many people reach the rank, but not get paid on the rank as they should. And as a result, and because they're not building it properly, don't get what they want to get and end up looking or doing something else in the meantime. So very important part of building this business is that concept. Now, also at silver, there's the matching bonus. Once you reach silver, you can then qualify for the matching bonus in the next month. Okay, let's talk about that because this is very important. So you go out, you have a launch strategy that you've got in your program. The launch strategy is to build your business. Whatever it is, whether it's in-homes, videos, however you decide to do it, it's a strategy. And you, again, want to recruit as many people as you possibly can until the person that says, I'm in, I want to do this, I'm excited, this is great, because then you have another mission. You want to help that person do that. But you've got the other people that are in work. So I'm going to use the story of Ralph and Jerry because that's exactly what happened. So the first meeting, she got her first person. The second meeting, the next week, she got her second person. And the third meeting, she got her third person. But by the time we were at the third meeting, the person from the first meeting was setting up her first meeting. So And then we ended up in a divide and conquer. So while I would do Jerry's meeting, but at the same time I'd go over and Mary Jane's meetings, and of course Jerry would come with me to those, and we started to build and push down. And the reason, again, for doing this is by the time went silver and then gold, she had leaders on her third level. When she went silver, she had, in the next month, she had leaders on her first, and then finally the month later on her second. So she built into, having the leadership underneath her so she would get paid. And this is an important concept because this is how it works. And when you bring somebody in, the expectation is they're going to bring somebody in, and the expectation of those people is they're going to bring somebody in. But if you don't put your attention on, if you don't help direct traffic and you don't make sure that happens, it doesn't happen. And that seems to be the main issue. Okay. So there are, as you can see, many benefits of becoming silver. One of the most important is the leadership bonus, which pays 6% down 2 generations below you of qualified and above leaders. And here's the picture of what this looks like. So there you are. And you sponsor a silver on your first, a silver on your second. This silver is on the first is completely independent, like you, is building a business for themselves. They create customers and other distributors. And the same thing with the second. So this first level silver for you could produce 20,000 points. The one underneath could produce 30 or 40 or 50. I can't give you what they will do, but the potential is there. And this is why you want to build depth. And the more depth you create, the more of a team you create. And again, let's go back to vested interest. And it's the need to qualify. So if down here, in the first and the second level, you've got 30,000 points, and I'm just using this as an example, and the CV on that, say 60%, so there's 18,000 in CV, and you're going to get 6% of that 18,000, so 18,000 times 6% is $1,080. So you're going to qualify to get paid on that for sure. Well, what's the qualification? It's, building your level two, your second leg, or selling wholesale or more retail. But it's the motivation of the downline that's going to create the activity. And this is one of the keys to this business is the self-motivation that can be created. And you heard the story that I told you about me going from platinum to diamond, diamond to royal. The motivation was the volume was already there. And that's where I got to see this concept of vested interest. Okay, let's move on. And you remember from the last two videos and attachments, the idea of building a team and the above example of the benefit of becoming silver substantiates that idea. Now imagine what would happen when your first level builds a second and a third silver and your second builds silvers, what this creates on the third level. And you can easily reach the gold qualifications and receive the benefits for doing so, as you will have leaders on your third level. And when you reach gold, you will get paid on the leaders who are producing on the third level. And in order for those guys to be producing so you get paid, they have to have leaders underneath them. So there's an interesting thing that goes on at these levels. And the idea is that you build into your next rank, making sure that you get all the benefits available. You're working on going silver. You know that this takes a number of activities. You need to put together the appropriate amount of volume, 6,000. You can review the video on building silver. It gives you a good idea and some example. And the idea is that you sponsor someone who wants to do what you're doing. And then you push the activities down by helping each level below build and go for silver. Sponsor Howard, goal, silver, help him build. He gets John, goal, silver, help him build. He sponsors Rusty, goal, silver, help her build. She sponsored Ron, goal, silver, help him build. And it kept on going, and it kept on going, and it kept on going. And when you do this, and you'll have a real good chance of creating many silvers in a vertical row as the picture above shows. You're getting to the top of the plan. Royal Diamond is earning the 6th level. Below is based in part on this concept. You can't get to the sixth until there's a fifth, and you can't get to the fifth unless there's a fourth, and so on, right back to you. So that's, again, that's how this works. Now, in my experience, most of the successful distributor had teams and depth in their organizations. You want to draw this out and look at many ways to reach the target. Silver's easy, 6,000 OV, and it's made up of retail sales, directs activities, seniors activities, and executive activities in an amount that adds up to the requirements as laid out above. So, put it down on paper so you see what it is and know what you put your attention on, you're going to get. So you go and sponsor as many people as you can. You sell as much product as you can. You get as many customers as you can. You just go like the wind, so to speak, until the job gets done. Don't quit until the job gets done. And therefore, it's the volumes of activity, and it is much easier to build depth and width, as has been discussed. While you're building silver, you want to look into your future. So again, you're building silver, and when you sponsor somebody, well, who in his group is going to go silver? And then in that group, who in that group is going to go silver? So you're watching what's going on, and you're there to determine. And it's easy because they'll raise their hand. They'll say, I want to do this. This is great. This is awesome, et cetera, et cetera. They'll go to town. They'll do the activities. They'll bring people to the picnic. They'll buy product. They'll want to soak up the information. So in the previous video, I talked about Howard and the second person I sponsored. I was taught what I did. Once Howard said he wanted to play, the next step was simple. Help him find someone to play and then teach him to do the same and those he sponsors. So it doesn't get much easier than that. It's how this works and it's the same for everybody. All right. So now you've gone silver. Now the next area is gold. But what has happened while you were building silver, you were thinking about going gold as part of your plan. And you have, at this point in time, you should have at least two, if not three legs that are in play. Now let's look at the qualifications for gold. It's 100 ppv and 1500 pgpv. Okay. Same as silver, and achieve an organizational point volume of 15,000. So now we've upped the volume. Why? Because in theory, you should have a number of people underneath that are building. So in your silver run, let's say you sponsored three people, and let's say of those three people, one leg they sponsored three or four people, and underneath them they sponsored four or five people. So if you had 15 or 20 distributors in your group, in your organization to get you to silver, then you've got 15 people that are going to build to silver themselves and do the same as you did. And it's of those, so that's how it works. Again, it's a matter of numbers. And when the very first statement of this is what Nikken says, it's your success is going to be based on numbers and how well you build and your organization underneath you. So again, the more you focus and push in the direction that you need it to go, the more it's going to happen. So you built your first leg, you got three or four people you sponsored, you built some depth, you're down 2, 3, 4 levels in maybe one leg or maybe two legs, and you've got a number of people. Their goal is to go silver. It's their going silver that's going to help you go gold. I really want you to think about this. It's their going silver that's going to help you go gold. So 2.5 people going silver is 15,000 points. So it's not a difficult situation. You went silver. So if you go silver, then somebody else can go silver. If you have enough people that are wanting to play the game to go silver, then this is easy. And now let's take a look at this primary, secondary, outside the primary, secondary. So of the 15,000 points, 5,000 has to be outside the main leg. So leg one, let's say it does 10,000. So then leg two has to do 5,000. And then outside of that, there has to be at least 1,500. So that could be, your PGPV is 1,500. And that's, your seniors, your execs, and your directs, and your retail sales equals the 1500. So again, main leg, second leg, outside the main and the second. It could be a third leg. It could be a third person you sponsored and they went to executive. And then that counts as your PGPV, right? It's the same. And then you do 100, personal volume and then you got a retail sell. So the homework, as we've already talked about many, many, many times, is for you to draw this out on a piece of paper so that you see it and understand it. And then, if you're working with a mentor or your upline to discuss it, and then the plan and the strategy is to, okay, well, who can fit? So again, you've heard me tell the story. I had my plan up on the wall, what I needed, and they were blank circles. And when I got somebody that wanted to play, I'd put their name in it. And as they progressed to the next rank, then I would move them up. And then when they finally reached where I wanted to get to them, it went in black. It was red until they got there. It was black when they had it done. So again, it's like the movie business. We had the storyboards of scene one, scene two, scene three, scene four, scene five, and then the end result of what this was all about. Same thing in building this business. It's baby steps, step one, step two. In building to gold, who's going to help you get to gold? It's got to be people that are helping you build and are building their own organizations, and you get to count their volume. It makes it really simple rather than you trying to figure out how you do 15,000 points. Now, there have been people that have done this, but it doesn't, the ability to keep it going is a lot of work. Whereas the design of network marketing is to get help. And you get help by building teams. It's just like corporate America. Corporate America didn't create giant companies by one person. They created giant companies by creating teams. So you got to think about this. And each team is going to do all of the different things. So each team, each person is going to have retail. Each team is going to be sponsoring people. Each person is going to be sponsoring people if they're trying to build a business. Now, we know not everybody does. So therefore, that's why we have to sponsor in excess and build strong teams and again create that need to qualify. So the farther you build down, the more you're going to create that need to qualify, and that's really where your residual income comes on a long term. Okay. Monthly qualifications for gold, 100 PPV, maintain PGPV of 1,500 points, and maintain that organizational volume of 15,000 each month. So again, cardinal mistake that I've seen and observed for years is the person pushes to get 15,000 but doesn't think about the future and doesn't think about how it's going to maintain the 15,000 points. So let's say, as just an example, you've gone silver and you've got three people underneath you that each go silver. All right. And they do the 15,000 points and get you to gold. Now, but there's nobody underneath them. Nobody was identified. Nobody was targeted. Nobody was set to go silver as their next action. So then what's going to happen, you're not going to reach that 15,000 points in the next month. You're going to, whatever you're going to get is what you're going to get. However, if you plan and strategize and you help those three people that are identified to do that 15,000 points, but at the same time, you identify who's going to go next by working with the people underneath them that help them do their job, that's how you're going to get to gold and build team. And that's why you want to build depth, because you always want to have people going silver. I mean, because that's the basis of this business is go silver. Once you go silver, you can go gold. Once you go gold, you can go platinum. Once you go platinum, you can go diamond. Once you go diamond, you can go royal. But it's all based on the building block, and the building block of our business is silver. It's not executive or seniors or directs because those guys come and go. But silvers are more likely to stay involved and build the business if they're taught how to do it properly. And that's line up who's next. The benefits of gold, 20% retail profits, 20% personal CV rebate, up to 20% personal group CV override. 6% leadership bonus, now down 3 levels. So again, draw this out, see where it is. Your attention should be on developing those leaders down there and below, because part of moving forward to platinum, diamond, and royal diamond is having teams that are self-sufficient below you. And if you have to do all the work all the time, it's not going to get there. So you want people that are vested. You want people that have vested interest. You want people that are making this work and getting what they want in your first teams that help you get to the gold and are moving on to platinum. And again, the same thing with moving on to platinum is the exact same idea. Is platinum is the fourth level, so you've got the third level is building the fourth, the second level is building the third, the first level is building the second. So once you see how it's built, your job is to build the first level and then help build the second, third, fourth, fifth, and sixth. And so it's the same for everybody else. So one of the keys to getting gold is having other in your organization who are building their business. As you saw in the previous diagram, by building silver properly, you're pretty much automatically going to get to gold because the silvers on your second level are building their frontline silvers on which is your third. Simple enough. So the strategy, planning, and support here are what is going to get you to gold. So building to gold is a strategy. Building to platinum becomes a strategy. Building to diamond becomes a strategy. Building to royal diamond becomes a strategy. Remember that you want to work at the bottom of the leg as it feeds up and it grows down. So if you sponsor one person below you, so that's the bottom of your organization, so you're helping it push down, which gives you a benefit up. Now you go to the second level, okay? And the second level, you're going to push down, but that second level is going to push up to the first and you. That's how it works. So again, if you're not focusing your attention on doing that, then it's not going to happen. And you can't expect somebody to come in here and just automatically get it, although some have. And what happens is those stories come out as the way it works, and that's not necessarily how it's going to work all the time. It's those are the exceptions to the rule. What the rule is you got to build it to make it work. And anyway, so remember that if you want to work at the bottom of any legs, it feeds up and grows down. Remember that to get to uh, that you get to the fourth, fifth, and sixth levels, you need to build the first three. So if there is no third level, there's no fourth. If there's no second level, there's no third. And so you want to draw that out so you see that you sponsor this guy and then he sponsors this guy that's second level and then that guy sponsors somebody neath that's third level and he sponsored, so on and so forth. So remember how the business works. Vested interest, the need to qualify. When there is plenty of volume to be paid on, there is plenty of incentive to get more customers and recruit more distributors. That's how it works. Okay, here's a picture, and this is a picture of gold. So here you are, you're silver, you got your 100 and your 1500 PGPV. And this could come from the new distributor located there. You've got your retail business, okay, which could be your 100. I'm just using this as an example. You could put in any number of figures. But here, your main leg is 1, 2, 3 levels down. Your second level is, he's got his retail and he's going to become a new silver. Okay, so you can see how you created in this leg 9,000 points by going deep, and you got this guy did 6,000 by being silver. So it's the identification of these guys underneath him that's going to carry you forward. Same here and same with this. In building the silver, each distributor sponsors direct seniors and executives and creates retail customers. The key is supporting them and educating them to build correctly as it is shown. The business works based on the need to qualify, so help create the need. See, that's where you come in here is with this gentleman here, the first leg, what you did was you came along and you helped him get to there and get to there, which created all this volume. He didn't do the 9,000, but his people underneath did the volume. So new silver does 6,000, new silver ends up with 7,500, new silver ends up with 9,000. So this is how the business worked. This is how it will continue to work. And we go from there. Okay. In this example, you recruited 2 new distributors and helped them get to silver. You had some retail customers and you generated 6,000 points. You had 1 distributor that wanted to make this work, and 2 of you built some depth and that continued to work to get to gold. The second person you sponsored liked what you were doing and was ready in your gold build to go silver. This occurred because your activities and your communication. So again, when I was building John, George, that was my first guy. When I got to Howard and he was starting to go, I would use what I did with George. So there was communication. He got motivated and excited. When I went to Chuck, who was my third guy, I would tell him the George story and the Howard story. And that validated why he could do it. And he would look at that and say, well, if they can do it, I can do it. I mean, that was how simple that was. Um, Now, your your first leg, third level, got hot because you pushed depth. So that's typically what happens. So you push it down, and it's the same as going wide to find somebody who wants to play. You push it down to find somebody that wants to play. And the farther you go down, the more it benefits. So again, let me tell you a little secret. In the beginning of network marketing, the idea was to show somebody that their activities generated a result. So when you push depth and create volume down there, it immediately affects the people up above them, and that shows them workability. And that inspires them, and they get to see how that activity works. Okay. So you will see that the main benefit for platinum is to be paid on your leadership bonus to the fourth level. And once again, by pushing depth, you have leaders who will develop silvers on the fourth level and below that. And again, it's simply draw it out and then create the target. Okay, so you've got a first level. What's his job to get his first level? That's your second level. You contact your second level, you're in communication because they're in your business and you target them to create their first level. That's your third level. And you just keep repeating that. And again, this is your business. So you want to pay attention to who's there. You want to get to know who's there because this is a relationship business at the same time. And I got many stories I could talk. We'll talk about those in the future, but that's where a great amount of my success came from was in developing these relationships with people down in my organization. Okay, so you do this by targeting your leaders below you. In the above example, you have four silvers, and by directing traffic, so to speak, they'll generate the 13.5. And again, 13.5 is two people going silver, really. It's and some other stuff, and then you've got other activity that you've got going. You've got open group and so on and so forth. It may take a couple of months for you to go from gold to platinum, and that's fine. Just keep pushing the focus of each leader, building their business, and help them do that. And what you put your attention on, you will get. And all you need to do is direct the attention and give the orders as has been discussed. Okay. So now let's take a look at platinum. So again, you're going to see now platinum diamond, royal diamond is just simply a repeat of the same idea, the same concepts of how to do it. You're going to probably do a new admin scale for each of these. You'll do one for gold, you'll do one for platinum, you'll do one for diamond, you'll do one for royal diamond. And the simplicity of this is simply the number of silvers being created to create the volume. So obviously, again, if we take let's look at this and we'll see how this works out. So again, platinum achieve 100 ppv, and now the PGPV is only 1,000 versus 1,500. And my understanding of this is simply because you're spending more time with your downline than you are prospecting and building new width or new lines, as it should be. You should now, by the time you get to platinum, have your core group. When I got to platinum, I had to build a new group, so I had to move on and find new people. Circumstance is going to dictate what you need to do, but the idea is again, you're going to be focused more on your organization versus finding new people, unless you need to do that. Okay, so achieve 30,000 points. Well, what's 30,000 points? It's six silvers. I should say, what's 30,000 points? It's five silvers. So if you had 20 or 30 people underneath you that were moving to go silver, then you can see it's a percentage of who you've got moving towards silver that's going to get the job done. Now, again, we get back into this. The main leg that does its thing, and outside the main leg, you have to have 10,000, and outside the main and the second, you have to have 3,000. And you're going to see this formula in each of platinum, diamond, royal diamond, as we discuss them. So draw it out. And again, for my position, to make it real simple, I had three, four, five, six legs. So first leg, main leg, second leg, third leg. So I met I had the primary leg, the secondary leg, and the outside the primary and the secondary. So that was John. Then I had retail, or I had wholesale, or I had distributors, volume, whatever the case may be. And that made up the first part, which is the 100 and the PGPV of 1,000. Okay. Monthly qualifications here is 100 ppv and maintain the 1,000 PGPV, and then maintain your 30,000 in volume. Again, the trick to the 30,000 in volume in your organization is the number of people that are going for silver. And and again, if we look at the concept of the penny doubled theory, or we looked at any kind of exponential growth, you get three and you teach three to get three, you got nine. And if you teach those nine to get three, there's 27 on the third level. If you teach those 27 to get three, you got 81 on the fourth. And you teach those 81, you got 243 on the fifth, etc. That's how it works. So in the sense of having a number of people to go to platinum, you need 30,000 points. So you got to generate, the 30,000 points from a number of people going silver. So if you had 10 people striving towards going silver, there's how you're going to get your 30,000 points. And 10,000 has to be outside of the main leg, et cetera, et cetera. Now, the benefits of this, 20% personal rebate, 20% personal group override. And again, now the leadership bonus goes down 4 levels. So you want to be thinking 4 levels. You want to be thinking 5 levels. You want to be thinking 6 levels. But you want to put that picture there and generate and create the development of those legs, because that's the benefit of the rank. It doesn't change from everything's the same as it was for gold. And so platinum, the only benefit here is the next level. And the only way you're going to get to the next level is if you put that out there and paint that picture. Okay. So I've created 2 pictures here for going platinum for you to look at. And just to give you an idea, so you can see that you're going down 4 levels. You can see the numbers of people that are potentially there. And it's just, leg one, leg two, leg three. And it's a duplication effort. And a more simpler version is on the next page. But let's look at and here's how the plan works, using the structure created by the compensation plan and adding the direction to push and build. It boils down to small building blocks of individuals getting 1 to 3 people and teaching that concept. So every time somebody comes in and they decide that they want to do this business, then the idea of what being taught, besides doing their admin scale, besides learning to get them to learn what to say, besides teaching them the compensation plan, is to understand the concept of how it works and structure. And it's the building block. And what's the building block? It's silver. So it's again, each one getting 1 silver and creating 3, and then helping those guys create 3. If they do that, it builds. If they don't do that, it doesn't build. And, it'd be like putting bricks on a wall. You stop putting the bricks on the wall doesn't go up. So again, it's like anything else. So to get to platinum, basically 6 individuals need to go to silver and build someone to silver. And then the organization is focused. That keeps going to the 5th, 6th levels and beyond. And in the PGB, it becomes easy to see how the volume grows, but you can see how the building depth, the organization grows at a much greater rate than simply going wide. And this is leverage. And this is the benefit of network marketing, was the idea of leverage. And it's the style of business that we do. Now, here's a simpler picture. You probably saw this in another video that I did, example of reaching platinum. And again, the qualifications here, and you have your primary leg does 20,000. You have the secondary leg does 7,000. And outside that, you've got a third leg that did 3,000. There's 30,000 points. There's platinum. Here's the picture of what it looks like. Simple explanation. But again, underneath that gold, what's that gold going to have to have? You know, three, four, five silvers, and under them, they're going to have silver. So, you know, again, you want to extend that out and draw that out, draw that one out, draw that one out, so you can see who you got to work with. And that is the key issue, just like in who you're going to initially talk to. The more people you have to talk to, the easier, because not everybody's going to say yes. Not everybody's going to want to play. And so therefore, if you have lots of people, and the same thing moves as we move up this business. Okay. All right. The concept of each rank is the same. It comes about by creating depth, as you saw in the first platinum example, and how the numbers play out. Each distributor who wants to make this work, well trained and motivated, will get the job done. And when this is passed on and promoted, this will help you reach your goal. Okay, let's move on to diamond. So diamond to cookie cutter, it's the same thing. It's now 100,000 points. So in order to get to diamond, then you got to understand, well, okay, so let's divide that by 6,000. Well, and we got another factor. We've got the qualifying volume of the existing leaders plus the new people. But to make it simple, let's do 100,000 and we divide that by 6,000. So we've got 16 people that are going to go silver in a large group. And maybe by this time, if you penciled it out, you know, you've got 100 people that are working on going silver. But that only comes when you have depth, because you've got multiple people creating those resources for you. So again, you sponsor one, and that one person can get maybe two, three, four, and those two, three, four can then expand that to them getting two, three, four. And then that group expands them to get each case. That's how it grows. Okay. It grows in an exponential way versus a linear way. And that's the difference between wholesale and retail, or distributors and retail. Retail's you got one by one by one by one by one, and the retail aren't duplicating what you're doing. Some, you might get a referral, but you're in a constant mode of finding new customers. Whereas in the business of building distributors who are also finding customers, which fulfills the company obligation, so to speak, then it grows at a different rate because the distributor has a different mindset. And so if you had 100 distributors had three customers each, okay, so you got 100 times three is there's 300 customers in your business consuming product. And that's part of your ongoing income that you're building and generating. So you have to think with that. Again, and same thing, the number of people going, draw it out. Same thing. You've got your main leg, your second leg, your third leg, your fourth leg, however many legs you got going at this time, your depth. Benefits are identical. 20% retail profit, 20% personal rebate, and 20% personal group override. That's the same as platinum. That's the same as gold, and it's the same as silver. The difference in this rank is this 6% leadership bonus now paid down to the fifth level. And you've seen and you've drawn this out and you've looked at it, and just let's say you sponsored three leaders who sponsored three leaders each, and take that down to the fifth level, you've got 215 or 243 plus leaders. And let's say they're doing 2,243 times 2,000, in that's 486,000 points. That's 60% average CV. That's 291,000 CV times 6%. That's $17,000. And on a simple breakdown, simple concept of one getting a couple, one getting a couple, one getting a couple. But it's how you build and where you focus your attention that makes the point here. Okay. So again, here's a picture. This is an example of reaching diamond. Same thing, schematic. You've got a platinum with 60K. You got a gold with 30K. You got a couple of silvers. You got golds underneath them. You've got some depth happening. You qualifications, you should really see that in order to get what you want, you need to build a business with others going after what they want. And that was the trick. That was the success, was finding other people who were on the same page as me and who were also desirous of making something big. It was like when Howard, before Howard became a business, we had another business and we were in partnership together and we were built. So we had a goal, mutual goal that we wanted to reach. So we sat down and we planned, we strategized, and we reached this goal and we did millions of dollars worth of business in this other business. And they eventually got sold to Sprint. It was great. We were both on the same page. Well, the same thing applies here. When you bring in somebody, you want to have them on the same page with you. And then when they bring people in, you want to have them on the same page with you, et cetera, et cetera. Remember the building block of one getting two to three, and then teaching and helping them do the same and pushing that as deep as possible until they recruit all the way down to 6 levels. So let's look at Royal Diamond. Same qualifications, 100, now 1,000 ppv, and achieve an organization volume of 300,000. So if we look at 300,000 in volume, aside from the qualification of people at the various ranks, divide that by a simple 6,000, you got 50 people going silver in your organization on a monthly basis. By the time you're at Royal Diamond, you have hundreds of people, if not thousands, underneath you that are potentially going for this level. So 50 is nothing in creating silvers. And I know from experience, making hundreds of silvers in a month was not an unusual thing. So again, and now I didn't take out the qualification amount of what people need to do, the 1,500 at silver, the 1,500 at gold, the people building they have retail business, et cetera, et cetera. So you could probably knock that in half down to 25 people going silver, plus all the other point volume to get you to 300,000 points. But the key is draw it out, see what it looks like, and make sure that you have enough people that are moving towards that level that they're going after. So you got people moving to silver, you got people moving to gold, you got people moving to platinum, you got people moving, because that's how this business grows, is people moving to their next level. All right. So that maintain the organizational volume on a monthly basis, that's the same thing. And again, it grows much bigger than this if you put your attention on it. Benefits, let's look at the benefits. They're identical. 20% retail profits, 20% personal CV rebate, and 20% group override is the same as Diamond, Platinum, Gold. All right, so let's take a look at the picture of Royal Diamond. And again, you can see here you got a platinum leg, couple of platinum legs, maybe three of them, a couple of golds, you got golds underneath them, all the qualifications. It's the same thing as all the other levels combined. All right. So now there you have the leadership bonus aspect, what to do, how to build, an explanation. And here's my recommendation for your homework. You want to take a look at each, you do your admin scale, you set what is it that you're after, you've got a goal, you got the reason for the goal, you understand the policy that you're going to use. The basic plan is you're going to build to say now you have an understanding of the compensation plan, what each level is worth. Maybe it's build a diamond and you'll make between $5,000 and $7,000 a month, and that's your goal. Okay, great. Now you understand after that, you've got the program, and the program gives you the details of how to do it. Follow this, follow whatever else you're going to write down there, learn what to say, learn the compensation plan, create your launch strategy, all of those kind of things. Then you've got your projects that you're going to work on, then give yourself the orders, and then what does it look like? You now have pictures to show you what it's going to look like. But I recommend that you draw those out for yourself so that you get a real understanding. And here's why. When you run into somebody that wants to play, you want to be able to show them what they need to do. And that's going to come about as with your understanding of what you're doing. And it's one of the biggest concepts of making this work is your plan and your excitement and why you want to do this, et cetera, et cetera. Now, with this in mind, you review this a couple of times, you do your homework, you do some exercises, you write some things down, you work it out with your sponsor. Then in the next call, we'll exercise and take questions. All right. See you in the next call. Bye for now.